Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of American Soccer Quick Kicks. I'm your host, David Wright. The first round of the MLS playoffs has been completed, and I just want to get in here and talk to you a little bit about the format and ask you what you think of it. So this was a new format that was introduced here in the first year of the Apple TV deal, where we expanded the field, brought in more teams, and then we made the first round a best-of-3 series. So the higher seeded team theoretically gets home field advantage because they host the first match. Then you go to the other team's venue for the second match, and if necessary, come back to the first team's home field for a second match there in order to see the best of three. They don't play to ties, and they don't play extra time. They go straight to penalty kicks if they need to determine a definite winner. And it's the wins and not the goals that count. So it doesn't matter if you win the first game 10-1 and you lose the next two 1-0, even though you outscored the opponent 10-2 over 3 matches, you're still eliminated because you're not looking at aggregate score. You're going by simple wins, 2 wins out of 3, and you advance. I've seen a lot of debate about this. I've seen a lot of people upset about it. I don't quite get it. Now, I am not totally sold on the new format. I love the very quick and lean single elimination tournament that we had for the last, 2 or 3 years in MLS. I felt like they really had it figured out then, and it really worked. The playoffs were intense and they were quick. And so this is slowing that down a little bit. And, there's criticism about too many teams, too big of a percentage of the league qualifies for the playoffs. I totally get that. I agree with it. Here's the thing. The playoff intensity is still there. These matches, they have an extra electricity to them. Now you can say, okay, fine, but you're devaluing the regular season. I get that too. Are we playing too many matches? If we're going to play such a long season, why are so many making into the playoffs? The regular season needs to mean something. I agree. Here's the thing about the only thing the regular season really puts at stake is home field advantage. You're playing for seeding. Home field advantage in Major League Soccer is a very, very big deal. It skews much more toward the home team than it does in other American sports leagues. For whatever reason, home field advantage is just about everything in Major League Soccer. I've seen people arguing online, on Twitter, and I've engaged with some of them, is that we need to go back to a two-legged match. It needs to be a two-legged aggregate score affair because that's the way soccer is made. I totally disagree with that. The only reason to have a two-legged aggregate match is to neutralize home field advantage. That's what it's there for. And it makes total sense for things like Champions League or Copa America or Champions Cup or whatever, where you're playing intercontinental competition against teams that you haven't even played in your league. I get it. Neutralizing home field becomes important. But why are you doing that in league playoffs? Why would you want to? That truly kills the only thing at stake in the regular season. You're playing for home field advantage. Don't neutralize that. Home field advantage should be given to somebody. That is fair because they've earned it through their league results. So I dismiss any debate about a two-legged aggregate round of the playoffs or any approach like that in the playoffs. It doesn't make sense to me. So if you're going to expand, 3 matches is better than 2 matches. I would prefer to just keep it straight single elimination but here's the advantage though. I'll give you this. I'll give Apple or MLS credit for here's the positive about the 3-legged match. And that is this, that it guarantees every team at least one home match. That's huge. Not only is it huge for the clubs because they rely so heavily on game day revenue, but it's great for the fans that they have an opportunity after supporting their team all year to be able to show up for a playoff match. It really brought it home for me in the LAFC versus Vancouver match, where LAFC was the higher seed team. They hosted the first game. Then they go to Vancouver, which would not have happened if this had been a single elimination. Vancouver fans would never have seen a home playoff match, and Vancouver would have already been eliminated from the playoffs. But instead, they come back to play in Vancouver, and guess what happened? They drew 30,000 people, and the place was electric. It was the biggest crowd they had had all year. So I feel great for every single one of those fans that had an opportunity to do that. And I think that's awesome. So, hey, if that intensity and energy that you want on the line for the playoffs is still present, and everybody gets to have a a home game, then I see the positive of that. I really do. Here's the negative. We now have to pause the playoffs for the FIFA international window. Now all that momentum comes to a screeching halt and we have to wait. And we're going to pick this back up after the international window is over and hope that everybody can get their excitement revved back up again. Now we are going to be straight single elimination from this point forward, so that's good. But it's like this huge mojo killer of just, all right, everything stops, you wait. Teams that finished, that swept their 2 matches, they have an even longer wait. And that's just, I hate that. It's killer. So because of the way MLS schedules their season, we have to deal with the fact that there are international windows in both October and November. Okay, and that's great if you're a fan of the U.S. men's national team. But it's not so great if you want to enjoy that excitement of the MLS playoffs. Well, the reason I like the single elimination these last couple of years is because it fit nicely in between those 2 windows. The regular season ended just in time for the October international window. You got to enjoy a couple of US matches. They come back, they have the MLS playoffs, boom, it's over, you crown the champion, MLS Cup is lifted, then the November window, and then you get to enjoy some US matches again. But instead, we're back to this creeping beyond those windows and being interrupted by the international break. And now the MLS Cup won't be played until December again. And I just think that's hard. That's rough. That's asking a lot of the fans to maintain their interest and their excitement when you're taking such a huge break. I wish there was a better solution to this. There's also a lot of debate about MLS clubs playing too many competitions considering the roster restrictions. Like if you're going to have us playing this many matches, then you got to open up the rules and let us stack our roster. Like I said, we're held back by the roster rules. And if you would allow us to build the deep rosters, then it becomes these additional competitions and this high number of matches over the course of a calendar year becomes more palatable. Maybe you expand the rosters or loosen up the roster rules, or maybe you shorten the regular season. But I would like to find a solution for the playoffs where we don't have all the momentum and excitement interrupted by the FIFA windows. I thought we had it figured out the last couple of years, and they've moved away from it. I think because of Apple's bidding, Apple wanted more playoff inventory, and I do understand the value to the fans of giving a home field to everybody, a home field game to everybody. But I mean, as far as my experience as a viewer at home, I want the single elimination, though, just quick, clean, boom, get it over with. Here's your champion. So anyway, tell me what you think. Do you like the new format? Are you a fan of the best of 3? Does aggregate score make sense over 3 matches? Why is that important? Why is that something that must be held on to? Aggregate is to help with the 2-legged matches, with weighted away goals and all that kind of stuff. All that kind of goes away when you don't use a 2-legged match. Do you still think 2 legs is appropriate for league playoffs? If you do think that, make your case. I want to hear why you think that is. Anyway, we are going into the international break now. Let's enjoy these U.S. matches against Trinidad and Tobago on November 16th and on November 20th. If you remember from my last video, not only will this put us in the semifinal round for Nations League, but it will also automatically qualify us for Copa America, which is the big deal, the big tournament, the big prize that we want, just to be able to compete in that during this World Cup qualifying cycle. So anyway, watch those games with me, and then come back and get your excitement revved up again for the rest of the Major League Soccer playoffs. And we'll see this all the way through to MLS Cup on December 9th. Until then, watch some soccer with me, and I'll talk to you next time.